Y'all, level 170 is the new max level, which means level 170 gear is the gear that you're gonna want. In today's video, we're gonna be talking about every boss that you're gonna want to farm and the best strategies for speed running these bosses so you can get your gear mad quick. This is an in-depth guide. There's footage from every single fight. So I would argue that the most important part of this update is this man's bingo. If you're smart with the way you farm your bosses, you can use bingo to craft literally any piece of new gear, including many new jewels and even old jewels that are super rare. We're talking Pierce jewels. They're not even new, but to be able to craft them, that's kind of nuts. But the super important ones are the damage jewels that are new, the health jewels that are new, and obviously any piece of gear that you might find interesting enough to want to craft on your school. You might notice when you go to bingo that there is a badge lock on every single recipe. In order to unlock any of the recipes on them, you have to do one of 4 bosses multiple times. The bosses in question are Freddy, the one in the dreaming that you have to fight at like around level 168. Engineer Montgomery, who's basically like a boss that has a really crazy cheat at the end of the world, the final fight, which is a ship polymorph fight, and a side quest. So I'm going to be going through those 4 bosses, talking about what they drop, how to do them quickly. Basically, your goal here is to either get lucky by farming them for the drop, or farm them enough to get a badge that lets you basically craft whatever you need from that boss. So the Freddy fight in the Dreaming is probably something that everyone's gonna want to farm because it drops the new jewels that literally give you extra damage, these unearthly damage jewels. And it also drops a ring, which I would argue is the best ring for both PvP and PvE at level 170. This boss has crazy cheats. It does a chromatic dispel, meaning it does a dispel that's specific to your school. However, if you're creative, you could actually one-turn it. So here's how the strategy goes. You have somebody who's not a storm because they're gonna get storm dispelled if they're a storm to cleanse someone that scalds. And because they're cleansing, the Scalder can be any school, preferably fire, because fire can get the best stats to scald with. And once you cleanse that scald, you have one person use a mass feint. Hopefully they have this, you know, and you have another person use incendiate. Now, the way incendiate works is it destroys all overtimes on the field, and it does double damage. So if you're scalding out of fire and you're mass feinting and you're doing this, Freddy dies first round with this strategy, even with the dispel. It's worth noting that in order to incendiate first round, the player that's doing it needs to have a deck that gives them 2 pips. So you need to do Decathlon to make the strategy work. And obviously you need a fire mastery. Otherwise you can't do it, right? I mean, arch mastery isn't enough to make incendiate first round available unless you have a mastery amulet. So if, let's say that you don't have mass feint. Let's say you don't have like, you know, like the incendiate hat. What you're going to want to do because of this dispel cheat, you're going to want to have one hitter try to dual school. Maybe if they're a death, they can put on a bunch of storm pins, a bunch of storm damage, and basically you can buff them like they're a storm, but the death dispel on them won't affect their storm hits. But no matter what strategy you use, the good news is after you defeat this guy 10 times, you unlock the badge that lets you craft anything from bingo. Now, while the Freddy fight, doing it 10 times anyways, unlocks your recipes that you're gonna want to craft the rings and the circle jewels, that is still, there's much more. In order to get your amulet, you're gonna want to do a side quest, and basically it's a mob that's here named Lady Corta. She's not here for me because I've already done the side quest, but she should be literally in this area, and it's super easy. If you do the Scald Incendiate, it's also a one-turn strategy. It's very simple. The only catch is you have to do that fight 20 times to unlock the actual recipe, but you're probably going to want that because the amulets are really good, right? They give you an extra circle slot, which could be used for pierce or damage, and a triangle socket, which is almost necessary for every school to not fizzle or pip fail. The best drop from them is just the amulet, so, you know, I wouldn't really farm this dude that much. I'd just get the badge and craft all the amulets you need for whatever wizard you need them on. Now, there's still 2 pieces of gear that you're probably still going to need. There's still the deck and there's still the Athame, so that happens all on the Doom Moon at the end of Wallaru. So the Engineer Montgomery boss, you have to defeat him 10 times to unlock all the crafting recipes, and he's actually a big one. He drops decks and also the new square jewels that give tons of HP. If you're looking at that 595 jewel and you want to be able to craft as many of them as you want, you're going to want to do this boss fight 10 times. It is not easy. There's 2 minion fights that you have to do, yada. And then the actual boss has a really weird cheat where he's immune, and the idea is that you have to kill his minions and then outlast him for 5 rounds. It's not possible to do this under 6 rounds because you need a round to kill the minions and then you need to outlast all the rounds that he does stuff. And during those rounds where he's immune and the minions are dead, he blades like crazy, tempests like crazy, he can do a lot of damage. So the best bet is either to go in and just have a ton of storm resist on everyone that's running it, or have a couple of people spam storm dispels over and over again. The good news is you don't need a mastery for this. You can just set your arch mastery to storm, buy a bunch of dissipate treasure cards from the Arcanum, and as long as you have 2 people spamming it, you could actually just not do anything but dispel after the minions are dead in the engineer Montgomery fight. Now the very last boss that you'd want to do is the fleet. You have to do this 15 times in order to unlock the crafting recipe, but this one has a lot too. You have the Athame from here, you have the sword pins, and you also have triangle jewels. Now this fight's weird because you're not actually the wizard necessarily when you're fighting it. Basically, the best way to do the damage is to actually take advantage of how the fight works. Behind the fight, there's a gigantic cannon that's operated by the heroes of Lemuria, and the cannon fires each time you set up a gambit. Now there's 6 gambits in total in this game that I think apply to this, but if you're confused on what a gambit is, it's basically like if you go to your school and you see like either an Oni, a Scion, or a Jinn, you'll notice that it basically does extra damage when you set up its condition. You can set up any of the 6 conditions in this game and the cannon will fire. So the best way to do this is actually to link. Let's say that you have 2 people link, you actually have set up 2 overtime gambits and also 2 heal overtime gambits. You can essentially 2-turn this by having 2 people spam blades on one person and have 2 people spam link on the highest health mob that's out on the field. If you have 2 people link the highest health mob and you have 2 people triple blade the last person, I guess, on the field, you'll have 3 cannon shots. Those cannon shots will do 18,000 damage, and as long as you've cast these links on the highest health mob, everyone will die on that round with those 3 cannon shots. So you have to do it twice because there's 2 waves of enemies, so it is a little tedious, but doing it 15 times actually isn't hard if you use this strategy. Now, once you've unlocked all the crafting recipes by doing the bosses however many times, right, the next question is, how do you get the reagents in order to craft everything? Dreamstone is a reagent that you can literally pick up off the ground. I recommend realm hopping across empty realms across Wallaru. That's like basically the strat to get these. Try to like see where the spawns are as time goes on. I've heard that the Billabong Resort is a great place to do it because it's a relatively small area with many spawns, but I think even something like the common area, Hope Springs, seems to have a lot of drops of this. I've seen the Eucalyptus Forest, I've seen the Wabagong territory. There's a lot of places you could go. Just make sure that you're in an empty realm and you're hopping, you know, all the time, so you'll keep getting more and more spawns. As far as Dreamwater, I think the best strategy is if you can 1-turn Freddy to spam him, because he drops 2 to 3 Dreamwater per run. If you're on like, you know, a main wizard where you just want one school's gear, honestly, questing through Wallaru itself will get you a lot of the gear. Doing all the bosses to get the recipes will probably also get you the gear. So it's not that much of a grind compared to Novus, and what I really like is once you actually finish the world and get all the badges, you have more flexibility to craft stuff than you've ever had before. This is just how you get all the gear, y'all. I will be making videos on the best setups for PvE and PvP, and I'll also be doing a video comparing the raid gear for anyone who's interested. So make sure you turn on noties. I hope this helped in case you're just trying to get all the gear for even one wizard. But yes, hopefully this tells you how you can craft, the best strategies to do all the bosses, and basically where to get all the gear. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. Drop a like. Tell me what you want to see Wallaru content-wise. I'll be making a bunch of videos, so turn on noties. Stay awesome. See y'all soon, man. And yeah.